Hey y'all, I just finished a 10-page paper about grief, particularly focusing on sudden deaths, which could be if you know someone and they committed suicide or died of a drug or alcohol related cause, or were murdered, or anything like that, when it's just sudden and untimely and it's like they were young, or it's just, against societal norms, I guess, and expectations. It's really hard to recover from that. And I know firsthand, because as some of you know, I talk about it. I lost my sister to opioid addiction a little over a year ago. So I was writing this paper, and it brought up a lot of stuff for me, but I learned so much. And people who lose someone suddenly have a harder time grieving, which makes sense, but they're more likely to become, um, to develop complicated grief or prolonged grief, or, depression. And so I learned a lot about how people can recover. And people who, if you know someone who died of either suicide or drug overdose, particularly, at risk for a whole host of problems and having trouble recovering because of the circumstances, and also that sometimes these things are covered in the media without respect or sympathy for the family, and that you don't feel like you can talk about it in public. It's very isolating, depending on who you are and who you know, and also how you view the world and yourself. And when you lose someone to suicide or drug addiction, it's actually stirs up your own thoughts about your identity, because you think that you're a certain type of person, or you think that they were a certain type of person, especially if it's a spouse or a sibling or a parent or a child. Your relationships to those people closest to you are tied to your identity. I'm in the kitchen. But anyway, it just really struck me, and I wanted to share that. And I wanted to let you know, if you have experienced this type of loss, you're not alone. There's a lot of people. Opioid-related deaths account for 66% of drug-induced deaths. That's according to the federal government from 2016. And the number of opioid-related deaths rose by 20% by 2015 to 2016. We really are in crisis. Several states have declared crisis. We're losing people, and the more people who are dying, the more people are left behind. So I hope that if you've lost someone, or if you know someone who's struggling with addiction, that you are finding support. I was attending Al-Anon meetings for 2 years before my sister passed, and I think that having that support definitely helped me through the loss, and I continue to practice. I continue to read and pray and make program calls and attend meetings when I need to. So I just want to put that out there, and a couple other things related to these type of deaths that I feel like, if you're watching, you might need to hear. And that is that you're not alone. This affects a lot of people. Talked about opioid addiction. Suicides is the second leading cause of death of people 10 to 34, and the fourth leading cause of death of people 35 to 56. And it's ranked in the top 10 consistently of all the deaths in the United States, percentage-wise. So a lot of people are committing suicide, and those who know someone who committed suicide are more likely to commit suicide, become depressed, things like that. So definitely, if you're in that position, you're coping with a situation like that, please get help, get social support, talk to a friend, go to a suicide survivor support group, whatever you need, a therapist. Please reach out. And the same if you are struggling and you lost someone related to addiction and you feel like you can't talk about it. So you're not alone. That's number one. Number two, it is not your fault. The problem with suicide and drug-induced deaths is that the people leave behind, they're always asking themselves if they did enough, if they contributed to the problem, did they enable? Like, there's a million things that you can feel guilt and shame about, but the thing is, everybody does the best that they can in their lives at the time and place that they are in. And I truly believe that. And I truly believe that no matter who I'm talking to, if you're hearing this and you've suffered that type of loss, you did everything you could. And it is not your fault. It's not your fault. So I just want to tell you those couple of things, and I want to tell you that there is hope and there is support out there. And I'm here if any of you need to reach out for any reason. And I love you. Take care.